Hello class, today we're going to be going over active and passive voice. Like I said yesterday, we're going to do a brief lesson on this because we'll have questions regarding it on the final exam. So what is active voice? Active voice is when the subject or doer in a sentence does an action to the object or the receiver. In this case, the sentence is active voice. In most cases, the subject is at the beginning of the sentence and the object is at the end of the sentence. Now, some examples of this. So our order is subject, such as the plumber, verb, fixed, object, the leaky pipe. So in this example, the person doing the verb is the plumber. The verb, obviously, the action, and then what is the plumber doing? Well, he's fixing what? The leaky pipe. Okay, so this is active voice. The person is actively doing something. The subject is actually actively doing something. So, Mr. Barron has congratulated his students. Who? The subject, Mr. Barron. What has he done? Congratulated. To whom has he given congratulations? His students. Another example. Margaret writes many emails. What is being done? Writing is happening. Who is doing the writing? Margaret. So Margaret is the subject of this sentence. What is she writing? Many emails. That is the object. That's what the action is being done to. In the last example, Griffin is asking good questions. So Griffin is our subject. This is the person doing the verb. Is asking, what is being done, so asking. And what is being asked? Good questions. Now, passive voice is when the object of a sentence is moved to the beginning. So instead of being subject, verb, object, we have object, verb, subject. So we move the subject to the end of the sentence and we move the object to the beginning of the sentence. Now that might seem a little bit funky, so there are some slight changes that we have to make here. The first is you have to add by to the subject. So you can't just say, the paper was written, Miriam. No, you have to say the paper was written by Miriam. And you might have noticed in that sentence, I had to add a helping verb. So you use correct helping verbs, such as is, was, were, etc., with the main verb, depending on the tense of the active voice sentence. So depending on what tense it is, when you change it to passive voice, you have to modify or even, add helping verbs. Now, what's important to remember here is the verb must agree with the the subject. If your subject is plural, then the verb must also be plural when you add the helping verb. So you wouldn't say the people is, you would say the people are. You have to change this. Now, to give you an idea of what this looks like, I have put this chart in here, and feel free to copy it down just so you have it as an example. But verb forms in active and passive voice. So simple present, Jane sings a song. If we're going to change this to passive, you say a song is sung by Jane. So we have to change not only the form of the verb, but we have to add this helping verb in here. Notice all of these have helping verbs. Okay? So take a second, you can jot all these down, but this will be a good guide for you depending on, if you determined what tense the sentence is, then you can look at this as a reference for what helping verbs you should add. I would say most passive voice sentences are past tense, typically speaking, but not always. So if we look at the simple past tense, Jane sang a song, the passive voice of this is a song was sung by Jane. So we moved Jane from the beginning of the sentence to the end, we moved song to the beginning, and then you fill in these words to make the sentence make sense, right? So obviously we had to change the form of the verb here, and we had to add the helping verb was. Now, in this example, the bunny should say the bunny played, sorry about that, the bunny played the purple guitar. We would move the bunny to the end of the sentence, the purple guitar to the beginning, and then we have to fix the middle of the sentence so that it makes sense, right? So, the purple guitar was played by, notice we have to add this by in here, the bunny. So what we did was we had to move the purple guitar from the end of the sentence to the beginning, and then we moved our subject to the end of the sentence, and we added the helping verb was, and then we added by before our subject. Now, let's go ahead and look at a few examples. So our first sentence, someone built this house in 1590. Take a second and look at the sentence and see if you can identify how to change this to passive voice. So the first thing you want to do is look for the verb. What is the verb? Well, it's built, right? Now, who or what is doing the building? Someone. So someone is our subject. We know in passive voice that the subject goes at the end of the sentence. So we're going to move someone to the end. And what's the object? Well, what's being built? The house. That has to go in the beginning. So our new sentence would be, this house was built in 1950. You could say this house was built by someone in 1950 as well. Let's look at a second example. Also, before I forget, notice the helping verb here. We had to add a helping verb. Our second sentence, they sent Mr. Caleb to Korea. So take a second and look at this and see if you can identify how to change this sentence to passive voice. So first, find the verb, and then what you're going to do is you're going to find the subject from the verb. So sent is the verb. Who or what is doing the sending? They. So they is going to be moved to the end of the sentence. Who is being sent, or what is being sent? Well, Mr. Caleb. So our new sentence will be, Mr. Caleb was sent, so our helping verb, sent, to Korea by them. In this sentence, we had to change they to them because you can't say by they. No, you have to change it to by them. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying you have to adapt the verbs and the subjects to agree. You have to have subject-verb agreement. Now try this example. Mr. Ali congratulated the students. How would we change this? So Mr. Ali is our subject, he's in green. The object is in purple. So how do we rearrange this? Well, we take the subject and move it to the end of the sentence. Then we take the object and move it to the beginning of the sentence, and we add appropriate helping verbs to change the verb. So the students were congratulated by Mr. Ali. So we just had to add were here. Now, why did we add were instead of was? Well, that's simple. Students is plural. Because students is plural, our helping verb also has to be plural. Let's try one more example. John runs many miles. So how would we change this? Well, first, what you're going to do is move the subject to the end of the sentence, and then the object to the beginning of the sentence, And we're left with many miles are run by John. Again, we had to add run here. In this PowerPoint and also in Google Classroom, or if you're in grade 11, your digital notebook, are these links to practice active and passive voice. So what you're going to do now is you are going to click on any one of these links. If you're really struggling, I suggest clicking several, and you're going to do the activity on the link. Okay, so they're going to ask you to identify active and passive voice or change it or whatever, depending on the link that you click. Do one of these activities in class at least, and then screenshot your work showing that you've done it and submit that to Google Classroom by the end of the period. So that's it. Please check Google Classroom for other instructions for today's lesson. Have a great day.